So the OSPF protocol uses several different types of packets to communicate from router to router, and you'll see them listed out here. Now, these are broad categories. So, for example, there's a bunch of different types of link state updates, but we're going to give a brief overview of all of them and how they function in a connection between two different OSPF routers. Okay, so the first type of packet we're going to deal with is the hello packet. Now, the hello packets are what gets exchanged initially, and they create and maintain adjacencies. So we'll send hello packets back and forth between different connected devices. They'll advertise the parameters that the routers must have in common in order to create an adjacency. And they're also used to elect a designated and a backup designated router on multi-access networks like Ethernet. We're going to take a look at that process in another video. So for the moment, hello packets are used to create and maintain those adjacency relationships between neighbor routers. Now, the DBD is a database description packets. DBD packets, they're basically a shortened version of the link state database. And so it's a description of everything that's in the database. And so you'll send that, the router will send that to a neighboring router. Now, the router that receives the DBD then we'll check that database, the information, that DBD packet, that database description, against its own link state database. Now, ideally, those should be identical. If not, that means we're missing information. So if we're missing information, then we send an LSR. And an LSR is a link state request. So basically, it's a request saying, hey, can you give me more information? I see you had this in your database description. I don't have that, or I've got different information about that. Send me more information. Tell me more about this so we can get synchronized. And so the router that receives the link state request will respond with a link state update. Now, link state updates, they do two different things. So number one, they respond to link state requests. They also announce new information about links. So an LSA is a type of link state update. Now let's say it's a link state advertisement. There are actually like 6 different types of link state updates. But the key thing is that the link state update is providing that information to the neighboring router about something this router knows about. So we're giving them more information, and that's how we end up sharing routing information across multiple devices, is primarily through these link state updates. So the hello packets establish the adjacency. The database description packets are used for us to compare and make sure we've got similar information. The link state request allows us to, if we don't have identical information, to request that. And then the link state updates are how we share that information out. And then we have link state acknowledgements. And an LSAC, or a link state acknowledgement, is used to acknowledge the receipt of other packets. So just hypothetical scenario, router 1, router 2, they're both configured with OSPF. They exchange hello packets. They form an adjacency. We're going to skip a couple of things here to fit everything in. Then they'll send DBD packets back and forth, database description. This is what I've got. If router 2 has information that router 1 doesn't have, router 1 will send a link state request saying, hey, can you give me more information about that network? Router 2 will send back a link state update, and then the router 1 will respond with a link state acknowledgement. So that is a real quick overview of the different types of OSPF packets that we'll use when we're establishing communication on OSPF-enabled routers and sharing routing table information.